Okay. So it's 2 Central Time and 4 Lithuanian time. And I think we should start already our event. And so hello, everyone, once again, and welcome to the second EDNAP webinar this year on measuring awareness of using GenAI in university studies, a metacognitive approach. And on behalf of EDNAP, we are very happy, EDNAP Steering Committee, we're very happy to have you join us today as we explore this important connection between generative AI and metacognition and learning, and with the focus today on higher education. I myself am Giedrė Tamoliūnė, Associate Professor from Vytautas Magnus University Education Academy, situated in Kaunas, Lithuania. And I will be the host and moderator of today's session. I'm here today with the 3 researchers and colleagues, dear colleagues, who will be running the session together with me. And first, it is Professor Josep Duart from Open University of Catalonia, also Professor Airina Volungevičienė from Vytautas Magnus University in Lithuania, and Kateryna Harbarets, also representing Vytautas Magnus University. I will introduce the bios a bit longer later on before the presentations. But now just to start with is, since we all know well that artificial intelligence is a very hot topic nowadays, and since yesterday, Estonia, I think one of the leading countries in digital education and digitalization, they announced a national initiative about artificial intelligence education program called AI Leap 2025, aiming to bring AI tools to all schools, providing students and teachers with free access to the world's leading AI applications and the necessary skills to use them effectively in learning. And despite the fact that this initiative is focusing on school level, I believe that today's presentations and discussion relates a lot to this new initiative and will help us maybe raise awareness or to learn more or think more critically maybe on how AI, artificial intelligence, impacts learning at institutional level, maybe teacher level and students level in relation to metacognitive aspects. So we will focus more on higher education, but I have no doubts that general principles related to artificial intelligence, metacognition, and learning might be transferred to all educational sectors, of course, with some needed amendments depending on the educational level. So before we begin, some agreements maybe on housekeeping comments that please use the chat to introduce yourself and say hello, and please send your messages to everyone. You will see that you can select whom you would like to send the message to. Also, you can use Q&A, question and answer box to raise your questions at any time during presentations. Also, you can use comment box for a chat box for all the for sharing your questions. I will try to keep a look at them and then give it to panelists. So also the event will be recorded. So if you don't want to be seen on the screen, we ask you just to maybe for now to turn off your cameras. And that's it. We will try to leave most of the questions for the discussion, but it will depend on how we will manage the whole time and if we'll be able to answer any questions after each of presentations. So now I would like to give the floor and the screen to Professor Josep from Open University of Catalonia, who holds a doctorate in pedagogy from Ramon Llull University in Barcelona and a master in business administration from ESADE Business School in Barcelona as well. He qualified from the University of Barcelona with bachelor's degree in history and education and also has a teaching qualification. He's a former vice president for postgraduate studies in lifelong learning and former director of the International Graduate Institute at the Open University of Catalonia. The Open University of Catalonia is a benchmark online university, internationally recognized for quality learning, for quality e-learning, and Professor Josep has played an active role in the development of its educational model, which makes intensive use of information and communication technologies. Today, he is a research professor in the Educational Sciences and Technology Department at the Woke University, and he's also the Eden Management Board member and Eden past president. So we are very happy to have you here on board, and please start your, I'm not sure if I've stopped. You can start your presentation about AI at institutional level.
Thank you very much, Giedrė. Thank you very much. I think you can see now my presentation. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to me to be today here in this Eden App webinar. It's a pleasure, and I hope that I can share with you some ideas related to the topic of this webinar. When we were preparing the webinar, we decided that the focus of my short talk will be basically in higher education institutions. I mean, it's an institutional focus, or I'm talking about an institutional level, not? And in particular, how the institutions, the higher education institutions, are defining policies, initiative, and what kind of challenges these higher education institutions have at this moment, related, of course, to the artificial intelligence. I would like to talk and to share ideas with you in these four topics, three. The first, this is just a few moments in order, because I've been in this area since 30 years. I think I would like to share with you some thoughts and also some worries that I have about the situation from the institutional point of view that we are living in this moment. After, I would like also to share with you some initiative at this moment in some higher education institutions about the artificial intelligence policies. And the third part, the idea is to share also with you some of these challenges that these higher education institutions have. And to finish, just a few closing remarks. In this moment, I would like to comment that probably many of you, or not all of you, remember that at the last decade of the previous century, that means during the 90s, it was in the period when internet appears. It was the same period when my university started, and we started using, of course, internet. In fact, the Open University of Catalonia is the first university in the world who started using totally internet for provide a quality teaching and learning process. And I think it's very similar in some parts. The moment that we live in the last decade of the previous century, and the moment that we are living now with the eruption of the artificial intelligence. The question here is that we learned something during these 30 years, because at the end, it's something similar, not? It seems that a new and very interesting and very challenging technology appears and affects everything in our society, but of course also in the area of education, no? I think we learned a lot during these 30 years, 25 years of this century, in particular also because in the middle we had a pandemic, and of course that was a very important moment, in particular for us as an educators, to learn about the impact of these technologies. But in other sense, probably I think we don't learn a lot, not? Because, for instance, it's the same that when internet appears, it seems nowadays artificial intelligence came here to solve all of the educational problems, not? And probably is not the case, that it was probably the same when the internet appears, not? Technology is not a thing that can help in all processes, not, but it's not the only solution for the problems or the situations that we have in educational area, no? Or for instance, 25 years ago, I published this book with a colleague of my university, Albert Sangra. It was in Spanish, but we share in that moment the pillars of the constitution of our university, and we were talking about the relevance of the asynchronous learning and also the very important focus on learning activities. And it's for us, it's a surprise not to see how so many people it's talking nowadays that they are doing, for instance, virtual learning using Zoom to provide lectures at the same way that they are doing, for instance, in the face-to-face system. That means nothing changed because at the end is the same, but only using the technology in a very poor way. That means probably we don't learn a lot during this period of time. It's the same. I remember that at the beginning, the people say, no, don't worry, because the young people will be able not to use this kind of new technologies because they are people that it's digital native. That means learn, started, and grow up in the period of these technologies emerge. But we realized that it's not true during the pandemic. And I think it's very important to realize at this moment and to continue working also at this moment with artificial intelligence, putting our focus on the digital competences, not only for students, also for teachers, because it doesn't make sense that all of these digital competences have to be learned outside of the formal processes. Remember that many of the young people learn the uses of technology outside of the schools, outside of the universities. And now I think many universities have intensive programs about digital competence, but this is important, not forget this, and also, of course, use it for artificial intelligence. And it's the same related to the educational models, because at the beginning we thought that everything happens in internet when the most important thing is that we have to consider internet as a tool. I think probably the same that we have to do nowadays with the artificial intelligence. In that sense, I think it's important to take in consideration all of our learning processes as researchers, as professors, as human beings, because at the end, during this period of time, we learn a lot of things and put this knowledge that we have at this moment to the service of how we have to do now with artificial intelligence. And for instance, one of the worries that I have now, it's probably we have to put some, I don't like the name of regulations, but some controls about the open uses of these technologies, because at the end, we don't know a lot who is behind this. We don't know, we know, for instance, the high impact that the bad use of these technologies can affect, for instance, in the psychology or emotional issues for students. And it's funny that, for instance, at the beginning, when the car started, nobody uses the belt, not because it's safe, not because a car is something safe, it's technology, and we believe that technology always is safe. But we realize with the time that technology is not safe itself. Something can happen with a bad use of technology and everything, not? And now we assume that we have to put our belt and also help, not in the case, for instance, to protect ourselves. Maybe we have to start thinking on that. And in particular, when we thought we see different opinions from the people who is managing this kind of technologies today. Because at the end, as we said many times, this is not about technology, it's about learning, and the technology itself doesn't change learning processes. It's the way that you use this technology, and technology, it's not just a face to communicate, but yes, to have this communication, you need someone behind the computer, and this is very important, because at the end, the human factor, it's always important, and this is something that we learned during this period. And this sentence at the end, I think it's important. The fundamental question isn't whether artificial intelligence will transform our world, but who will benefit from that transformation. And I think our responsibility as educators as a people who is involved in institutions and associations is to try that this benefit goes directly to society, to people, to learners, etc. I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit naive, but I think it's very important to take that in consideration. Regarding to, now it's a little bit more focus on some evidences that is happening now at this moment related to the artificial intelligence in higher education institutions when these institutions have to prepare or to organize some policies. I would like to put some examples, not here, for instance, the very reputed organization, which is European University Association in our European Union. Not? I think it's very interesting if you can attend to this or go directly to the website of this organization and take a look all of the different documents about the strategies, policies, etc., that they are proposing or suggesting for European universities in order to work and start working with artificial intelligence, and in particular to define an institutional policy, because it's important that the site, which is the role, which is the position, which is the paper of the university in our society related to the uses of artificial intelligence. For instance, overseas, in the case of the United States of America, you can find many examples there. I put here only two. One is from the Penn State and the other from the Stanford universities, not a kind of particular positions of these universities. For instance, in the case of Stanford, I think it's clear, not be aware, be careful, and also be transparent, not? I think these three topics are very interesting at the moment to define an institutional policy, no? The position and awareness, not? And this is something that we will talk a little bit later with the other presenters. Of course, careful in front of the risks of these technologies, as I mentioned before. And very important thing that to be transparent, not about explain how are you using as an institution, as a professor, as a student, this kind of technology. No? It's more or less the same in the case of the Penn University, the Pennsylvania University, here, transparency, accountability, everything related to the bias, we know that, the privacy, etc., security, data scraping, intellectual property, etc. The idea is to base some positions, but I would like to share here the one that I know better, which is the position of my university, and we launched this position at the beginning of last year in 2024 with some principles, not like this, that the education is a truly human process, and very important that to have this critical perspective on technology, and the work, of course, understand the value and the potential of this artificial intelligence in education, but we have to work in the sense that will be traceable, auditable, inclusive, and with control systems, in order to ensure the universal access and the absence of bias. And this is important in our case. For instance, we define these 7 items that I think it's interesting, and should be probably a model or something to think about for other institutions. But the most important one for me is the first one, because it's to take to be or to knowledge which is our role in the society, because as an educational institution we have to work in order to prepare citizens for the society of the future. And of course these citizens needs skills to use correctly and to work correctly and safety with this kind of artificial intelligence technologies. And this is very important. That means something that as an educational institution we cannot avoid. Of course, we have to prepare in artificial intelligence literacy, but with this idea to prepare people, that means offer good skills, make people competent but also critical in front of these uses, where in particular using artificial intelligence in teaching and learning processes, of course, with this awareness of the risks that this technology have at this moment. Probably it's the same that happens at the beginning, as I mentioned before, with internet. Working as an educational institution with this idea, not about academic rigor. Remember that a few years ago we were talking about plagiarism, about this kind of things, not? But they are now the most important thing is this academic integrity. And also, as a professor, not the relevance of this teaching expertise on the use and the potential of this artificial intelligence, in particular for teaching and learning purposes. No? I think it's a very clear 7 items. Of course, other institutions, depending the context, depending the situations, can decide another ones. But I think it's a clear idea or an approach with different topics that all of them are very related with a position or a decision about from one institution related to the uses of artificial intelligence. But let me now explain a little bit more what kind of institutional challenges I think that we have in this moment and what kind of initiative we can explore also from the research point of view. For instance, I like also to see and to follow this other interesting institution or organization, which is Educos. Probably many of you know that this Educos is based in the States, United States of America. They are developing constantly different kind of surveys, not? And one that appears at the end of last year, 2024, it's an artificial intelligence landscape study. It's very interesting. I think you can access not through the website of Educos. But I like these two here two graphics. No, the first one is the general orientation of artificial intelligence related to related policies. Not and see that institutions in that case, 41% are extremely or somewhat permissive with the uses of these technologies, but it's 18% with extremely or somewhat restrictive in the uses of this. That means it's interesting to see that there is 18% of people of institutions that probably say no. We don't have to offer or we don't have to work with this technology because it's a kind of technology that is, for instance, can bad uses related, for instance, to the academic integrity or this kind of things. Huh? But for me, the most impressive thing of this data is this 32% neutral, because I think these kind of technologies are not neutral. I think it's very clear that they have a kind of positions, not? But probably that reflects that many institutions at this moment don't have a clear definition what kind of things they have to do with these kind of artificial intelligence activities or technologies. This other is very interesting one, which is the types of institutional policies impacted by artificial intelligence. As you can see, the most important one, 70%, is the teaching and learning process. It's the first moment that we realize that we have to do something. Why? Because our students are using this artificial intelligence, and we as a professors, we need to think about what we have to do in order to integrate in which way, in which form, with characteristics on this teaching and learning process. Of course, everything related to the security and data privacy, it's important to research and etc. No, but the most important one, of course, and nowadays it's the one that we are investing a lot of efforts. It's in the process of the teaching and learning process. Another association, in that case, the European Foundation Society and Education, define these 5 artificial intelligence educational challenges. I'm sure that many of you agree that this is the most important things at that moment. One, it's very clear, and I think it's not just now, because it's something that came from the last 10, 15 years. The relevance of the personalization, and of course, artificial intelligence, because at the end it's a huge the manage of huge amount of data and personal data from students and from professors and from curricula, etc., that can help us in the personalization process. That means it's something that could be positive in that sense. Of course, virtual reality and augmented reality have a very interesting areas of growth in this sense of the uses of artificial intelligence. Educational feedback. For instance, years ago, we started working with these chatbots and other systems to provide this kind of educational feedback. I think, of course, the evolution of artificial intelligence will improve a lot that, But, and also this one that we hear is like lifelong learning trajectories, because I think also this artificial intelligence can help students, not only young students, also the lifelong learners, in order to define and follow particular educational processes, educational trajectories, educational paths, and focusing in the kind of skills or competences that could be interesting in each moment, depending the demands of the society, demands of the labor market, or to improve your competences in your particular work, But everything, of course, with a carefully uses, taking care of ethics and also recognizing the situation and the bias that we have now, And in that sense, also, I think it's very important not to work in order to be critic in front of that, to recognize these ethical issues, to be transparent in the uses of this artificial intelligence, etc. And the same from the research point of view. For instance, this is a very interesting result of a systematic review published in the International Journal of Educational Technology in Higher Education. The first one, it was in 1909 by a professor Olaf Sawicki-Richter, who is also a good member of EVEN. And in 2014, with many other people, in George Siemens, you can see here, but the main author is Melissa Bond. These four areas, for research, which is a very important now in this moment when we talk about artificial intelligence in education. Everything related to the profiling and prediction. That means how we can have a clear profile of our students, and also how these systems can help us in the prediction process, not only bad predictions, also good predictions. That means how we can help these students, for instance, to in the retention processes, into achieve their academic goals, etc. Profiling and prediction. The other one is intelligent tutoring systems. I mentioned before that this is something that came from previous years, but is a very important area of research. It's clear that one of the areas that we are working hard during these last years is assessment and evaluation. And this is something that we have to take care at this moment in order to preserve also the good quality of our teaching and learning processes, and we need research in that area. And also adaptive systems and personalization that I mentioned before. I think it's interesting to see that this is the four areas of research, and we need research in these areas in order to have a clear evidences and translate these evidences later to the institutional positions, and also to the activities and the development of the activities that we are doing in the different areas, for instance, teaching and learning processes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, could you wrap up in 1 minute so we can have enough time for...
Yes, I'm finishing.
Yeah?
Yes, just 1 minute to show some examples from my university. For instance, we deliver and we show to our professors and students how they can use, for instance, prompts to prepare courses. To the students, we provide also information about the uses of artificial intelligence. And we like that these people, that students use correctly this artificial intelligence. And I think it's very interesting and important to do that. And this is, for instance, another example that the kind of learning materials that we are providing to our students related to the artificial intelligence in learning. And just to finish, these closing remarks, The first I mentioned at the beginning, I think we have to be critical, not in the approach of the uses of technology in education. Remember that education is always first, and it's important for us as educators that maintain that. I think it's important also to have this positive approach to artificial intelligence, taking care, of course, the risks, but at the end, we cannot avoid the situation because artificial intelligence is there and we have to work with it. Focus on artificial intelligence literacy, the competences, etc. We cannot avoid to work with our students and our professors into use in a correct way this artificial intelligence and understand the good benefits of this artificial intelligence, to have a clear and contextualized strategy, institutional strategy, and be aware, of course, with ethical and social implications of artificial intelligence. And for finish, is this not looking forward for the future? Not that means work in research in order to see what is happening now with artificial intelligence nowadays, and to have clear research evidences about the uses of that. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, maybe I'm a little bit long, but that's all at this moment. Thank you very much.
It's okay. Thank you a lot, Joseph, for a very interesting presentation, for providing this data from different reports. I was very interested, surprised maybe even about this neutral data, where institutions were neutral about deciding on either to use AI or not in the institutions. We have some, I think, questions coming in the chat, but let's leave them for the end so we can first focus on presentations. Okay. And now I would like to invite Professor Airina to give her as well her presentation. So Professor Josep started with this umbrella overview about AI at institutional level, about different policies, and now we will move to teachers level, maybe more like on teachers level, and we will relate more to the metacognition aspect itself. So Professor Airina Volungevičienė has been working among leading researchers, methodology specialists, and education policymakers in the area of online and digital education development in Europe and Lithuania since 1997. And having established the National Association of Lithuanian Distance and E-Learning Association, she continued as a leader in the research and project work to promote the development of technology-enhanced teaching learning in higher education, schools, vet, and adult education. She joined Eden Governance in 2010 as the board member. Later, she was vice president for research and the president as well. She founded Eden Digital Learning Europe in Estonia after Brexit and continues to serve as a director of the management board. She has been the team leader and senior expert for knowledge building activities in the European Digital Education Hub and a member of the European Commission Delta, as well as research in many different international projects and research groups. So please, Airina, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure also to be here in Eden NAP webinar, actually for the first or maybe second time only, because we have other events, but never for NAP. And it's my also great pleasure to work with Josep, because I think you will see in the slides that many developments in research that are now recorded in our slides, in our thinking, come from close cooperation in Eden, in research, in PhD schools. And also my presentation will be a link to the current research that actually we are also undergoing together with Josep and Kateryna. And the context for it is actually our master study program organized by Vytautas Magnus University in Kaunas together with UNESCO International Bureau for Education on management in education. I come from education, and my interest is also education. So I thought that it would be interesting to approach application of AI from the point of view of metacognitive strategies, and you will see why later a little bit in the slides. But I will start from the very beginning, from the roots, from the classics, saying that it's been common knowledge for decades and more than we have decades in digital education that self-concept is directly related with academic success. So in the way how we perceive ourselves as learners, which is a part of metacognition, is a very important factor in the way how we succeed in learning, but also in teaching. The way we perceive ourselves as teachers is also very important for us in how we teach and what kind of teachers we are. And the bidirectional or reverse relationship of this is also proven academically by research. And the many behavioral problems that we now identify with small children and different age groups also might be solved in one or another way by improving the self-concept understanding of the learner. The other condition that I think is foundational and helps us to be safe, to be well, to be positive, even when we are challenged with such things as AI, is the consistency and concise thinking and linking our thoughts, feelings, and actions, because then life becomes much better, simpler, and we have less tensions. We then link our brain functions, our body functions, and we can enjoy what we are doing. So these are like the conditions or preconditions to start talking about it. And for those of you who are not deep in metacognition, I wanted to very briefly recall. I prefer this table produced by Pearson, actually, quite some time ago. It very explicitly and clearly explains metacognitive components and also gives the references to the research literature talking about metacognition, and says that we when we are talking about metacognition, we are talking about cognitive knowledge, so the knowledge that we are aware about and we are not aware about, but is in our brain, in our mind. And then about the cognitive regulation, so the way how we work with our knowledge and whether we are aware and able to identify this knowledge, then if we are able to attend to it, understand, comprehend, and perform adequately, and then think how we can regulate, how we can improve our knowledge. So what you may be interested about is the type of cognitive knowledge that is listed here. And I will link this metacognitive approach towards other arguments that I will give you. Together with Professor Josep Duart, actually, in the past, we have interesting research also applying metacognitive strategies on the knowledge level and on the regulation level. And we designed a very, very simple tool for that, actually, trying to identify teacher metacognitive strategies and student metacognitive strategies in online courses available in, for example, virtual learning environment. And in order to identify those, we thought that both teacher metacognitive strategies and student metacognitive strategies might be targeted at improvement either process of teaching and learning or learning design itself. As an example, when we start the course, and that was my mistake as a teacher in Vytautas Magnus University for quite some years, I would start courses with asking my students to introduce themselves. And usually they would give responses like, I have a sister, I live in a countryside, or I live in a town, I have a dog or a cat, or I don't like cats, or I don't like dogs, And this had nothing to do with learning, usually, and the way how they learn, and the way what they know about themselves as learners, and also about the factors that affect their learning and their cognition, and about awareness, how they can improve learning, their own learning, let's say, and how this would be possible. So as a teacher, I applied metacognitive strategy and changed actually the introductory activities, asking them, not this year, because I saw some students here too in this webinar, not this year, but asking students to introduce themselves as learners, what they know about their learning, and about the factors that affect their learning. In virtual learning environments, we have quite some data. And just before 2023, when AI became open by OpenAI, we knew there is AI somewhere, but we never knew that we can operate with it, use it for, ChatGPTs and many, many other things. What we did research about how we can use data from virtual learning environments, and we call it learning analytics, because data about learning, about our behavior in the system. And the research on LA, which is learning analytics, was very important, because then we could decide as teachers on how to intervene with metacognitive strategies in order to investigate what is happening and maybe to improve what is happening. But when we were faced with OpenAI, LA started to be considered as the grandfather of AI taking the grandfather to the bright future, and promises that it will become very, very bright and very, very great. So with the learning analytics, we had proof that metacognitive activities might serve as tool to engage students. And we had very, very nice research, also some publications, some articles on that, on how teachers might want to learn to think and to make decisions on the basis of data that is available in virtual learning environments. For example, the results from the paper that I just showed to you highlighted 3 important conditions. 1, we should raise awareness of agents in teaching and learning practice, with students' perception of their role, with teachers' empowerment, with administrative role of learning analytics, etc., etc. Then recognizing students' behavioral patterns as metacognitive knowledge. And this leads to the final presentation by Kateryna, because she will show you data on that. So the habits of students that they have in the course. And the third element, metacognitive processes of planning and designing curriculum. This is more related to teachers, but also it is very, very directly related with student success. Today, and this is the generated picture by me with the AI generated tool, free for 10 pictures, I think, and this is the second one in my life. Because I don't use ChatGPT, I use other tools. So now this grandson is completely on the back of the shoulders of the grandfather. And as grandfathers and grandmothers, we don't have data anymore on what is happening in the mystical AI. There is another very, very important argument published in the very, very important journal, International Journal of Education Technologies in Higher Education, in 2020, which says that students say that a high-quality online learning experience is when we have 3 types of presence: teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence. So we interact, we communicate, we give feedback to each other, we perceive and simulate by students, material, and instructors, reflect deeply and critically, and seek to understand different perspectives. So these are the conditions that were stated and argumented by students, not by teachers, when they have really high quality online learning experience. Some of us know that I'm a good advocate of Harari and Nexus, and interesting questions raised by the book. Where the data comes from now? Who can access data and under what conditions? What does access to data means to learning, teaching, and assessment? My favorite is, what do we know about the data that sorry, I don't see it in the slide, but actually what is used for learning and teaching and where it comes from? Now, I saw a question and answers field for AI. We know that large language models are used, and I come from humanities. My first education is from humanities. I know that language is directly related with our thoughts, with our thinking, our speaking, our acting. So this is the link that we need. And now I see someone forming my thinking, my speaking, my teaching, my behavior. So actually, if I allow someone to teach me, I need to know who it is and which language model is used. So, by the research that we are currently on and in process with Josep and Kateryna, and Kateryna, will soon give you the data from empirical research, from very, very interesting data about it. We came from the theoretical perspective that actually there are 4 critical conditions to meet the challenges raised by responsible use of AI in education. So critical thinking was mentioned also by Josep, but a lot comes from epistemology, LLM origin, and also we think explainable AI might help here. Then digital competences by teachers, also mentioned in the slides by Josep. Again, I think that explainable AI would give awareness to teachers about the source and the resource that comes for learning and teaching. But then, of course, we have to be aware that we teach with AI, so we learn with AI, and then sometimes learning design is with AI, and this makes, again, reference to Josep internet establishment as a lesson. Then information and media literacy, where does it come from? Again, individual academic reputation, fundamental versus co-created knowledge, and many other things. And finally, but I think one of the most important focuses that we need to put is metacognitive competencies. So they would help us establishing awareness about learning with AI and teaching with AI, managing awareness through personal cognitive decisions, and staying comprehensive about the tasks that we are implementing, and confident who or what, if it is AI, it's never human, it's a machine, it's an algorithm, what or who is implementing the task, and apply metacognitive competences for assessing process and its outcomes. So this is the way forward that we propose, I think, and now I finish here with this part to let Kateryna come with the data if that is the time, and then this is by Giedrė to decide.
Thank you a lot for this great time management. You even have a few minutes left. But let's leave this time for Kateryna and maybe later for some questions and discussion with participants. So now I invite Kateryna to share her slides. And Kateryna has been working as a learning coordinator, helping to run business educational programs at Duart, Ukraine, and assist with an implementation of Learn to Discern program, which aim to integrate media and information literacy education into Ukraine's national school curricula. Now Kateryna is a second-year master's degree student in educational management study program at Vytautas Magnus University with a keen interest in digital education. And with her master thesis, she is conducting research in the area of AI application in higher education. And we already had a short introduction maybe, or the sparkle of what we can expect from your research. So please, it's your time.
Thank you, Giedrė, for giving me a floor. And it's really nice to see all of you here. I'm very happy to see how many people are actually interested in the topic of this intersection of metacognition and generative AI. And also thank you, Airina and Josep, for your presentations, for leading it to that part. So now I can share my kind of empirical data. And I would like to just give a short overview, why this topic is relevant. So basically, as we have heard before, AI, generative AI specifically, within the last several years, it significantly changes the landscape of education, and actually it affects how students learn and how teachers teach. So basically, teachers need to adapt to their teaching strategies, adapt their teaching strategies and assessment to ensure that students would not be able to skip this kind of useful cognition with the help of AI, while students need to learn to embrace AI in the way that it will help them to learn and it will benefit their learning, but not to disrupt it. And previous research showed that many students tend to use AI not rather to enhance it, but more just to have the work done. And this created a kind of uncertainty in AI adoption in higher education. So basically, metacognition and metacognitive skills can help students to self-regulate their learning process by being aware of their own learning strategies. They can make informed decisions and also to use AI tools more effectively. So by exploring their awareness on AI application, we wanted to research how aware they are in general on the way they apply the tools in their learning process. And so just a bit of information about the research questions. There were 2 research questions we wanted to answer. The first one was, in which ways and for what purposes do students use GenAI in higher education? And the second, what is the role of metacognition in measuring awareness of application of GenAI in learning process? So I had 15 students who participated in the research. It is the qualitative research, so the main tool was interview. Students were bachelor's, master's, and PhD students from different faculties and different countries. So I had students from Lithuania, Switzerland, Ukraine, and Spain. I had this kind of access to a different audience because I spent the last semester in Switzerland, and I think it was really insightful also to have people from different contexts to see just it's to see it from the broadened perspective. So yeah, and now I would like to start with finding parts. So the first theme I identified, it were patterns of GenAI application. And the first one is, it says that students are reliant on AI for routine tasks. What does it mean? That basically routine tasks are those that are perceived as kind of simple and low impact. So they don't have a huge impact on their grades or the learning process in general, for instance, translation or summarization of some things. And also AI is used for time saving in these terms. So if task is not critical, students do not want to spend a lot of time on it. So they use AI to save the time. And also, since it's not critical, students tend to be more reliable, and they trust AI with the result because it's a simple task. Here you can see like the quotes, for instance, like the first one, which I really like. I rely on AI a lot because it's not critical. It's something I can delegate it, and I did not want to spend my time on this. It was from one student from Ukraine. The second pattern is students tend to remain being aware about their personal and GenAI input for creative tasks. This one was quite interesting for me also because like I myself do not trust a lot AI with creativity as well. Like basically this means that students use AI selectively for creative tasks, and they want to have this kind of balance between AI input and their personal input. So basically they might use it for brainstorming and idea generation, but like for more complex tasks which require some information about their background, for instance, or their point of view or something, they are a bit cautious to delegate it to AI. And I really like the quotes that you can see here because they represent this kind of willingness to stay authentic in some ways. The one student from Lithuania, from sociology, she said like, I believe that you don't need AI to express yourself. And it was very interesting to hear her point of view. And also like, the other one, I rely on my creativity because I know AI can't capture the nuance and or authenticity that I need for the task. And the last one is students critically assess AI outputs within complex tasks, which means that it's like on contrary to the first pattern. When the routine task, for the routine tasks, they have trust, but for complex tasks, they have more value for them. And for this reason, they try to be more critical about the outputs. And also they are kind of aware of the limitations of GenAI tools in general. So they tend to check it and to be more cautious about it. The second theme is drivers of GenAI application. So the first driver is psychological and physical states. So yeah, when students are tired, sick, frustrated, or even like overloaded with academic tasks or in general, they tend to use AI more often just to kind of have the work done. And you can see some quotes here, like for instance, like one student from Ukraine, she said like, I'm just so tired that my brain doesn't want to find new solutions or just think of new ideas. I know it's not effective to force myself to think at that moment, so I use AI. And the other one, it's quite interesting one because it was probably one of the most repetitive drivers, I would say. So basically, if students are not interested, they don't have interest in tasks, they tend to use AI more often. Here we have 2 points of view. So task is perceived as not interesting, and also task can be perceived as not relevant and also not interesting. So like there were 2 different points of view on that. There is one quote from Lithuanian students from the educational area that I really like. The tasks we get often do not correspond with the skills we need to develop. So we use AI to skip it. And it was quite loud, I would say, but quite honest. And I really love that she shared it. Then we have 2 last one. And the third one is knowledge gaps. It's quite understandable because nowadays students use AI a lot as assistant to fill some knowledge gaps, let's say, to clarify some concepts or to get information they need for studies. And also the fourth one is the teacher's attitude, which also has like 2 points of view. So from the first one, there were students who said like if teacher supports AI application, then they are willing to use it more openly and also like cite it, for instance, or be more aware of it. And one student even said that he felt like he's more he felt this kind of responsibility that the teacher trusts him, so he tries to be even more better just into that. And the other one is teachers encourage students to avoid AI. This also there were different thoughts on it, but students mentioned that some of them mentioned that if teachers encourage to avoid AI, they still might use AI, but maybe less, and they will try to hide it. Or others, there were a few students who said I can try to do it myself if I am encouraged to do it myself. So if it's not like very strict environment, and teacher explains why he wants to have it done by the student, not by AI, they might listen to it and do it on your own. The third one is the third theme, which relates to metacognitive knowledge. So basically, we have here awareness of oneself as a learner, and here maybe two brightest sides where like strengths and weaknesses students actually are aware of. So when they know that they have poor writing skills, they try to use some GenAI tools to help them to improve it. And for instance, when they know that something is their strength, they will not use AI for that, just out of principle sometimes, because they know that they can do it better than AI. The second one is awareness on how to use GenAI. It consists from like 2 points. So students are aware of what tool are capable of what, and task-specific tool selection. So basically, some students stated then, for instance, I know that ChatGPT is bad for that, but I don't know, DeepL or Perplexity is better. So they know that it's better to use that tool for the task. And the last one is awareness of contextual application. This one was probably the most explicitly stated, because basically the students said in most cases that they analyze the task type and complexity of the task. Also the guidelines that are used for the course or from university, if there are the guidelines. Then also like strengths and weaknesses of a tool they might want to use, and requirements from professors from the course. The first one is metacognitive regulation. Here you can see 4 parts. So with the planning, the students more focuses on task analysis and available resources while planning their usage of AI in learning. But this part was, I would say, mostly implicitly seen, because when students were asked directly if they plan it somehow, they mostly said like not really. But when I asked some additional questions on the topic to clarify it, they could name like step by step some things that they are doing to plan it. So yeah. The second one is monitoring, which is represented more like by reflection on frequency and reflection on whether AI helps for the task in the moment or not. So here's like a very nice quote that I really like from one student from Switzerland. Sometimes I think when I want to do a certain task, when I feel I have difficulties, I want to open artificial intelligence, but then I stop myself and ask, why am I doing this again? Yeah, the third one is controlling. So basically, it was on a very good level, I would say, because students were really aware of the limitations of AI, and for that reason, they tried to control the output that GenAI give them in order to have the task done according to requirements, and also like so it fits what they need. And the evaluation part, it was also more rather implicit, because first of all, students try to evaluate this impact more just by instinctive judgments. They don't have any like specific criteria to do this. And also many students stated that, for instance, for them, a very important thing when they think of evaluation is, did I save some time with that or not? So basically, they are really concentrated on this time-saving aspect of AI. And the last one is awareness on GenAI misuse. So here are like two sub-themes. First one is bypassing useful cognition. And this one is very interesting because students, in most cases, when they used AI in not very proper way, they were aware of it, but they just didn't have another choice, like from their perception of the situation. So they decided to do this, but they were aware that it actually affects the way they learn, and that they might skip some information, and they might just miss the part of the learning process. And I really also like one quote. It's from Lithuanian student who is actually also like in teaching and education area. Basically, the degree should go to GenAI, not me. But I mean, it just kind of shows the future in a way that maybe something in education and higher education system needs to change, because the skills are needed are also changing. The tasks we get often do not correspond with the skills we need to develop. We use AI to skip it. Of course, it's not good, and it's definitely not for the best, but it happens because the system is the same, and the tools and the reality is changing. So yeah. And the second one is awareness on over-reliance, which is also, like, not all the students said that they consider that they over-rely on AI, but many reflect that those who have this problem, they reflect on it a lot. And it was like quite contradictionally, because they know that they over-rely, but still they don't know how to change it, because because it works the way it works, let's say. So and here you can also see some quotes which supports it, a really nice one. And just to give an overview of themes and sub-themes that I presented from the full scale, here you can see like 5 themes and sub-themes. I will not start because maybe we don't have a lot of time left. About the limitations, there were several limitations. First of all, it was only 15 students, so it's a relatively small number of participants to state some like findings, maybe to generalize it. Also, cultural diversity of participants, because as I mentioned before, participants were from different universities in different countries, and also like there were different maybe policies, and some students had AI kind of literacy courses, some students didn't. And also these answers were self-reported, so due to sensitivity of the topic, it may lack some objectivity and honesty. And just to conclude, a few more words. So basically, students' awareness on GenAI application, it was evident in terms of metacognitive knowledge and regulation. However, it lacks a bit of planning and evaluation skills. And also this supports their selective and critical, but sometimes unbalanced AI usage. Also, it has shown that application of GenAI varies by the nature of task and is influenced by drivers that engage students in GenAI application. And also, students are mostly aware of cases of misuse and the effects of reliance has on their skills. However, even with this awareness, they still often choose efficiency over deep involvement into subject. Due to time constraints, academic overload, mostly or lack of interest in the subject or task itself. And this also reflects some systematic challenges, let's say, such as need to maybe update a curriculum or pedagogical approaches that would embrace generative AI and help students to use it more responsibly. And thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Kateryna, a lot. It was very interesting to listen to your research results. I found so many I'm not sure if it's ideas, but I just understood how important this topic is for future research as well as for future discussions, not maybe so much into even going to research, how well it related to the assessment aspect also that Josep presented at the very beginning, and to the teacher's role in all this process, the one that Airina was talking about. And here comes maybe one my question or idea is that somehow this time-saving aspect that was mentioned in one of the quotes by participants, for me, started sounding a bit risky already. I think it started with talking about teachers' role, that, oh, it's good to use AI because it saves some time for teachers. And now students say the same. So just to start the discussion, what are your ideas and all panelists, presenters' ideas? So what is it more about this quick and surface learning or this deep learning? Where do we change? Should we change teaching strategies more? Or yeah, what would be your ideas? Airina or Josep maybe, and Kateryna.
Joseph, would you like to?
Okay,
No?
okay. Yes. No, I think it's a very interesting question, not? But at the end, as I mentioned during my presentation, not? I think it's very important to think about the use of this. Always must be focused on the learning objective or on the teaching objective that we have in each moment, not? And according with the main objective that we have, we need to find the correct use and the proper use of these and other technologies, no? And in case of the artificial intelligence, not, and in particular the ones that many people knows, which is ChatGPTs, or these ones that generative artificial intelligence, in particular in text, no, that means provide words and sentences. I think it's very important to be transparent, not, and to help students and professors to write the correct prompts, to define correctly, which is the main goal that they want to achieve, not, with this question to the system, not, and to analyze the result. And if this result is something that you have to share or you have to show to your professor in the case that you are a student, I think it's important to be transparent with all of the process that you follow during the creation of this content, no? I think it's not a bad thing to use technology at this moment in this 21st century. Use ChatGPT to create text. I think it's okay. I think sometimes it's something to can avoid time, not to do that. Not, but I think it's important to be transparent when this is something that, for instance, can be evaluated, not, and also to be clear, not, in front of the people that read the things that you are providing, no? This is my first reaction to your comment.
Thank you a lot. And so maybe we can at the same time take a look at some questions that we have, like what tools and methods should universities use to encourage students to reflect on how and when to use AI in their studies? How should students' metacognitive awareness be promoted? Maybe Airina, you may respond.
Yeah, I think we actually did develop some instruments for teachers, and now maybe it's time to develop some instruments for students. Metacognition and reflection is the way to do that, you know. A very interesting experience that I had once in my life. We had a group of people who had to agree about meeting in, let's say, a different place, a different town in the same country for some work, and everybody said yes, we will come. But then we printed out a sheet of paper and ask people sitting around the table to mark who is coming. And you know, people, when they started marking things down, they were aware, they started being aware of where they put these marks, agreement. They were expressing agreement about something, and they opened their calendars to see if they're available to come to this town on a dedicated time, and in a dedicated place. So when we ask people very, very promptly, they express like their wish, an agreement, yes, I would love to. But then when reality comes and when we have to really indicate, let's say, yes, I did, that was me, I used it for one or another purpose, then I think we start deeper reflecting upon the question itself. So my proposal would be to develop quite simple instruments for students, asking them to do self-reflection on whether they did use artificial intelligence, for what purpose, how, whether they would like to do it again. And this reflection would improve awareness. So the object that we are now researching, I think this is the way forward.
Thank you a lot. And now we have a couple of questions for Kateryna, some research related. So Fiona was sharing that your data is very interesting. And did you see any large differences or any differences in how different student groups, bachelor, master, and doctoral students use AI?
I would say that I saw maybe difference in awareness a bit, because those who were masters and PhD, their responses were a bit more like they had more self-reflection on some stuff, and within how they use it, not really.
Thank you a lot. Of course, sometimes it's not the purpose of research, to do this, to compare data between different groups. Also, we have one question from the very beginning of our webinar. So it's not for Kateryna specifically, but maybe for any of you who will share ideas. For example, China uses AI to influence the Western world by spreading propaganda to students and others. How can we protect ourselves from it? I think, Airina, you already started talking a little bit. You mentioned something answering this question. Would you like to add something to it, or maybe Joseph?
I think Joseph could be maybe even better to answer this, or maybe to comment about that. My only short comment would be regarding large language models, and if we really want to facilitate, to foster application of AI in education in the future, I think the initiatives behind the European Union are very important, and I know that they have started already developing large language models for European digital education. This would be accompanied by European values and positions and languages and diversity and everything. But maybe Joseph, you have other ideas.
No, just I think it's a very interesting reflection, this one. Not that if you read the papers and you just reading the papers, then there is at this moment different approaches to this. The one is of course came from China. The other one that probably is the one that we know better from the newspapers is the one that came from America, OpenAI, and the others, which is more related to it seems to the companies, and the China's one seems more controlled by the government, because, for instance, if you ask about particular political issues in the country, then the system don't reply a correct answer, or the answer which is correct for the government in this country, But it seems that the one that comes from the States, it's good because, for instance, some people say that at the end it's the whole community who regulate itself, I don't believe that, because I think at the end, behind these companies, there are people, and these people have some interest too, And we know one of these people which has a huge power at this moment in the States government, But to be honest, I like the approach from Europe. I think probably it's not the best, because at the end, Europe was the first country, or the first union, who decide to establish a regulation, not for the users of artificial intelligence, in particular to protect the individuals, the people who is and the information that it's behind or it's in these machines, not. But it seems it's not only the interest of the companies, and it's not also the interest of the government. It seems that at the end the focus is to protect ourselves, not. Probably no one of the three ones that I mentioned is the best one, but to be honest with you, I'm sorry about that. I feel more comfortable with being a European citizen than the others in that sense. Not, but the good thing or bad thing is that we can use all of them. That means we can use the American ones, the Chinese ones, the European ones, etc.
Thank you a lot for response. So we have one more question since we have only 10 minutes left. It's more referring to Kateryna, but maybe Airina and Josep will also contribute to it. So in one of the quotes from students, it was said that the system is the same, but the tools and the reality is changing. So besides individual or single context, how do you think the higher education system should change? Is the present way we teach compatible with the new tools, or should we change everything?
I would like to comment here. I'm sorry, Kateryna. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think you have something more to say. I would just like I was thinking about this comment also, and since I right now I'm working with there was one company which provide trainings for AI and productivity in general, and we recently analyzed like some trends for the workforce and so on. So I think in this case maybe what that person probably thought when she shared it, that maybe the system should include some tools, like, I don't know, in the education itself, just like kind of not to reject it, because basically after you graduate, you still need to go to work and you will probably use all of the tools, but at least you might know how to use them if you have some, maybe from school or university, some practice, and you're more aware of it in general. So I don't think it's more about the teaching and learning process itself, but more about just this aspect. At least that's just my opinion. I'm not sure.
Thank you. Yes, Airina, please.
Yes, first of all, I would say, just as a comment, that the tools change very quickly, as we can see now, and they develop very quickly. This doesn't mean that we don't have to learn and to teach to use them. But actually, first of all, we still, I think, have to pass many phases of the process that we are going to plunge into. I mean, in the labor market, also to receive education that would prepare us to conceptually think about the elements of the system, about the processes, how these elements interact, what is the process about, do we target at the result, how can we think about the impact of our actions today. We can invent and we can apply and we can master any type of innovation that we want. But the most important thing, what is the final goal? So in order to master technology, I think we need to understand the process that it facilitates, because when technology and the tool changes, we need to stay with the foundational knowledge about where we are in and who interacts with what. And I think this is very fundamental because for our competence, we need knowledge, we need abilities and skills, and we need also our attitude towards how things are developing. So if we skip the fundamental knowledge about something and we jump at something that attracts us and brings efficiency to our actions, we might lose a lot because the challenges that we see now on the global world, on the global level, sometimes require us to go back to the source and to think about our actions, responsibilities, and the knowledge that we had prior. So I agree, we should develop innovation, but the innovation should be also serving for the purpose of education when we speak about the system of education.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I totally agree with these final sentences from Airina, no? And I think during the history of the relation between education and technology, always technology goes first, no? Because the evolution of technology is constantly and it's quick, it's rapid, etc. No? And it seems that the pedagogy have to follow the same process, no? But I think not. I think it's important, as Airina mentioned, no? That we have to explore, to analyze, to see what is the evolution of technology, and depending of this evolution, we have to think how we can use use this kind of evolution for educational purposes, not just following because it's interesting, just following in case that it's interesting or not for our educational goals. No, I think this is one thing that I want to mention, and the second one is. Yes, I think this technology, the same way that happens with eruption in internet 30 or 25 years ago, I think now this kind of technologies will change the way that we are learning and we are teaching. That means we have to think about that. We need to start exploring new ways to teach and new ways to learn. I think it doesn't make sense today, something that we discovered many years ago, not that we don't have to focus our teaching processes in just to providing knowledge, because this kind of information, the students can access using a lot of different tools. Maybe we need to start thinking in our teaching process in how to can provide to students competences in order to find themselves, to be metacognitive, to think, to be critics, etc. These kind of competences, the ones that we used to call kind of a soft competence, I think the ones is the most hard one at this moment.
Thank you a lot for your comment. I completely agree, and I think this, because after Kateryna's presentation, somehow I had this idea in mind that it seems that this awareness of using AI comes from this kind of internal intuition, like students just feel it, like if it's safe or not. But I feel that for us as educators and researchers, it is very important to work on developing their digital competence or AI competence, if we call it, and raising awareness about, this explainable AI aspects, what they should pay attention to when using it. Yes, I liked and thank you a lot for your ideas. I think it was a very nice discussion, and you all contributed a lot to disclosing this topic and explaining and uncovering this intersection between three very important elements in nowadays education. It's artificial intelligence, metacognition, and learning. And since we don't have any questions, we had one question about the use of AI detection tools. If any of you is interested just to answer, I think it was the only one left.
Just quick, I think at this moment, yes, starting to have some kind of detection of this, but we need a little bit more time, because at the end, it's not. We had a lot of different ones in order to find plagiarism in the previous years, but we don't have at this moment the ones that can provide this information. But again, I think we have to think: this is the use that we are expecting for this kind of technology? I think probably we need to not only to think on to find a way to see if the student use it or not, this technology. Maybe we need to work with the technology and the students in order to the correct uses. But yes, I think nowadays it's difficult to find a good technologies at this moment for that.
Yes. Thank you a lot, Joseph, for your comment. So it's for the very end of our today's session. I want to share and invite you, first of all, to thank you all for joining this event, for raising questions, for being active in the chat. And please follow Eden for the upcoming events. Next week, we already start the Open Education Week. It's been going for some years now. I'm not sure how many, but it's been long enough. And we will have 4 webinars each day, starting from Monday to Thursday. They all will start at the same time, 1 Central Time, and it will last for 90 minutes as well. So during your maybe lunch break or something, just join us and listen to interesting presentations and insights in the field of digital education. Also, those who are keen on participating in research conferences, academic conferences, and have interest in all this topic, we welcome you and invite you to come to the Bologna this summer. And from 15 to 17 June, we will have an Eden conference, annual conference, and paper submission ends on 15 March. So you should be quick and think about the research that you would like to present and submit your proposals by then. And early bird registration is until 15 April. So we will still have time, and we would be very happy to meet you there and get to know better your research and the work you are doing in your practice. So thank you once again to all presenters. And with this, I would like to end the session. Thank you all for joining and being here with us. Bye-bye.